Right, let me, hi Sonia and Sean, we love Rise. It's one of the few things that keeps us sane these days. Thank you. Wonder if you would talk about Clement Freud. Would love to hear it. Peace and blessings, Andy and Lynette. We will indeed. Clement Freud, for those who do or don't know, obviously from the very influential Freud family, grandson of Sigmund Freud, often considered the father of psychoanalysis. Clement Freud came over to the UK from Nazi Germany as a child. He worked as he was probably one of the first celebrity chefs, actually, and food writer. He became a Lib Dem MP. So my kind of feelings about it, and obviously we're going to get Sean's in a minute, is he was untouchable, absolutely untouchable when he was alive. We know, obviously, that when he died, at least 3 females came out and said as children he abused them, that he was actually a paedophile. The Freud dynasty, we cannot underestimate the power of it. Sex and the Freud family, absolutely inseparable. His brother Lucian, who's now dead, painted, of course, those nude pictures of Kate Moss when she was still very young and very kind of waif-like and everything, and she developed quite an interesting relationship with him. Sigmund Freud, a completely new approach to language and understanding our brains, but some of it a bit perverse, like the whole idea that men develop a sort of crush on their mothers and girls develop a crush on their fathers, and all of that kind of weird stuff that which I never quite got my head around, frankly. But Freud's, their influence in British society cannot be underestimated. We are talking every facet of life. Clement Freud's son, Matthew Freud, has probably the biggest PR company in the UK. His daughter, Emma Freud, is a broadcaster and married to Richard Curtis, who famously did loads of movies. Notting Hill, 4 Weddings and a Funeral, the Vicar of Dibley series. So very influential in broadcasting. We know they've been influential in publishing, broadcasting, media. Elizabeth Murdoch, who was married to Freud, who I've just talked about, the Matthew Freud, that her dad is Rupert Murdoch. So you can bet there were a million stories of influential friends that have been buried, right? You can bet it. Oh, and let's not forget who was at Clement Freud's funeral. Very influential people. The then Chancellor of the Exchequer, Gordon Brown. I didn't actually find that. So Stephen Fry, actual shadow Chancellor George Osborne, former party leader of the Liberal Party, Lord Steele. His associates infamously include Kate and Jerry McCann. Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts in looking at Clement Freud?
So,
Sean?
Obviously, I didn't know much about Clement Freud, and strangely enough, I mentioned to my mum last night what we're going to be discussing, and she actually didn't even know that he'd been alleged, or did he get? It was confirmed, wasn't it, that he was a paedophile?
Well, 3 people came out and said this is what happened, and
my mum didn't even know that. So I told her last night, and she was like, "Oh my God, I didn't even know that." But so from the research that I've done, obviously for me, the Freud family is the most deprived, degenerate family of the modern era. I'll just get that in there. But his sister Anna was molested, and she gave birth to Edward Bernays, who is the father of propaganda. Okay. So he took the family's knowledge of psychology and used it for governments and corporations to modify opinions and actions of the public. It gets more worse, right? So then his most famous one was the suffragettes, because he got them to smoke by claiming that they were torches of freedom. And then all women smoked because tobacco companies wanted women to smoke on the streets, not just at home. So we used the suffragettes. And then if you actually go even further, the great nephew of Bernays is now a guy called Mark Randolph. Mark Randolph is the co-founder and CEO of Netflix.
Stop it.
This is not a coincidence. So the godfather of propaganda, his grandson now owns Netflix, okay? You've now got QTs, all these other shows on Netflix, and it is not a coincidence that they have social engineered the idea of Netflix and chill, which means to have sex.
Oh my God, you
I rest my case.